Dorothy Marie Marsh West was an American country music singer and songwriter. Along with her friends and fellow recording artists Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn, she is considered one of the genre's most influential and groundbreaking female artists. West's career started in the 1960s, with her top 10 hit, Here Comes My Baby Back Again, which won her a Grammy Award for Best Female Country Vocal Performance in 1965, the first woman in country music to receive a Grammy. In the early 1970s, West wrote a popular commercial for the Coca-Cola Company, titled Country Sunshine, which reached number 2 on Billboard's Hot Country Singles in 1973. In the late 1970s, she teamed up with country pop superstar Kenny Rogers for a series of duets, which took her career to new highs, earning platinum-selling albums and #1 records for the first time. Her duet recordings with Rogers, Every Time Two Fools Collide, All I Ever Need Is You, and What Are We Doin' in Love, became country music standards. In the mid-1970s, her image and music underwent a metamorphosis, bringing her to the peak of her popularity as a solo act, and reaching #1 on her own for the first time in 1980 with A Lesson in Leavin'. In 2018, West was posthumously inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. So sit back and relax as we explore the life, the music, and the sad ending to one of America's greatest country artists.
Before we begin, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you don't miss a single one of our upcoming videos.
Dorothy Marie Marsh was born on October 11, 1932, to Paulina Arthur Jones and William Hollis Marsh in a community called Frog Pond about 64 miles northeast of Nashville, Tennessee. She was the eldest of 10 children. The family was extremely poor. To help alleviate the financial strain, West's mother opened up a restaurant. Young Dottie helped Paulina Marsh run the establishment. Dottie's father, Hollis Marsh, was an alcoholic who beat and sexually abused her. The abuse continued until she was 17, when she reported him to the local sheriff. She testified in court against her father and he was sentenced to 40 years in prison, where he died in 1967. After living with the sheriff for a short time, she moved to McMinnville with her mother and siblings. She also joined her high school band, the Cookskins, where she sang and played guitar. In 1951, she obtained a music scholarship to Tennessee Technological University in Cookeville, Tennessee. There, she met her first husband, a steel guitarist named Bill West, with whom she had 4 children, including country music star Shelley West. She continued to use his surname professionally. After graduation, West moved with her family to Cleveland, Ohio, where she began appearing on the television program Landmark Jamboree, as one half of a country pop vocal duo called the K-Dots alongside partner Kathy D. At the same time, West made numerous trips to Nashville in the hopes of landing a recording deal. In 1959, Bill and she auditioned for producer Don Pierce at Starday, and were offered a recording contract. The singles West cut for the label proved unsuccessful, but she moved to Nashville, Tennessee, 2 years later, where her husband and she fell in with aspiring songwriters, including Willie Nelson, Roger Miller, Hank Cochran, and Harlan Howard. West often played hostess to these struggling songwriters, offering them a place to stay and eat. In return, they taught West about the structure of songwriting. During this time, she also became a close friend of Patsy Cline and her husband, Charlie Dick. On March 5, 1963, Cline died in a plane crash along with cowboy Copus, Hawkshaw Hawkins, and her pilot and manager Randy Hughes on her way home from a benefit at Memorial Hall in Kansas City, a concert West also attended. West had asked Cline to ride with Bill and her in their car, but Cline, anxious to get back home to her children, opted to fly, instead. In 1963, Jim Reeves recorded a song written by West called Is This Me, becoming a #3 hit that year. As a result, Reeves helped West secure a recording contract with RCA Victor. West earned her first top 40 hit in 1963 with Let Me Off at the Corner, followed a year later by the top 10 duet with Jim Reeves, Love Is No Excuse. Also in 1964, she auditioned for RCA Victor producer Chet Atkins, the architect of the Nashville sound, who agreed to produce her composition Here Comes My Baby. The single made West the first female country artist to win a Grammy Award, Best Female Country Vocal Performance, leading to an invitation to join the Grand Ole Opry. Here Comes My Baby reached number 10 on Billboard country charts in 1964. After releasing the Here Comes My Baby LP in 1965, West and producer Chet Atkins reunited the following year for Suffer Time, which generated her biggest hit yet in Would You Hold It Against Me. In 1967, the West/Atkins pairing issued 3 separate albums, With All My Heart and Soul, featuring the number 8 smash Paper Mansions, Dottie West Sings Sacred Ballads, and I'll Help You Forget Her. During the same period, she also appeared in a pair of films, Second Fiddle to a Steel Guitar and There's a Still on the Hill. She continued to have success as a solo artist during the late 1960s, with such songs as What's Come Over My Baby and Country Girl, which garnered her an offer to write a commercial based on it for Coca-Cola in 1970. The soft drink company liked the results so much, it signed her to a lifetime contract as a jingle writer. After the 1968 LP Country Girl, West teamed with Don Gibson for a record of duets, Dottie and Dawn, featuring the number 2 hit Rings of Gold released in 1969. The album was her last with Atkins, and she followed it in 1970 with 2 releases, Forever Yours and Country Boy and Country Girl, a collection of pairings with Jimmy Dean. Around the time of Have You Heard Dottie West, released in 1971, she left her husband Bill, and in 1972, married drummer Byron Metcalf, who was 12 years her junior. Due possibly in part to her recent stratospheric success with duets, her solo career suffered between 1969 and 1972. Most of her singles released at the time had failed even to peak in the top 40, and her album sales were declining. In 1973, West provided Coca-Cola with another advertisement, featuring a song called Country Sunshine. The popularity of the commercial prompted her to release the song as a single, and it became one of her biggest hits, reaching number 2 on the country chart and number 49 on the pop chart. The ad itself netted a Clio Award for Commercial of the Year, and she became the first country artist ever to win that particular honor. Country Sunshine proved to be a solid comeback, as she was nominated for 2 Grammys for the song, Best Country Song and Best Female Country Vocal Performance a year later. After the release of House of Love in 1974, West notched a number of top 40 hits, including the top 10 Last Time I Saw Him, House of Love, and Lay Back Lover. Before signing with United Artists Records in 1976, her final RCA album, Carolina Cousins, was released in 1975. In the late 1970s, West's image underwent a major metamorphosis. The woman who had once performed outfitted in conservative gingham dresses, and had originally refused to record Chris Christopherson's Help Me Make It Through the Night because it was too sexy, began appearing in spandex sequined Bob Mackie designs with 20 costumes under a $400,000 contract. She had relented in late 1970 and recorded Help Me Make It Through the Night on the album Careless Hands, which was released in 1971. As the sexual revolution peaked, so did West's career. Under United Artists, West's material changed from traditional country to up-tempo and slow-tempo adult contemporary-styled music. In 1977, West released her first album under United Artists, When It's Just You and Me. The title track peaked at number 19 on the country chart. In 1977, she was due to record the song Every Time Two Fools Collide, when Kenny Rogers' vocals were added. Released as a duet, the single hit number 1, West's first, the duo's 1979 All I Ever Need Is You and 1981 What Are We Doin' in Love topped the chart. A 1979 duets album, Classics, also proved successful. The duo proved popular enough to be booked in some of the biggest venues in the United States and other countries. In 1978 and 1979, the duo won the Country Music Association's Vocal Duo of the Year award. In 1980, West filed for divorce from Byron Metcalf, citing his drinking and infidelity. During the 1980s, West continued to generate solo hits, most notably A Lesson in Leavin'. Her popularity as a featured performer on the Grand Ole Opry endured. A Lesson in Leavin' was West's first #1 solo hit. It also peaked at number 73 on the pop charts. A week before A Lesson in Leavin' reached the #1, it was part of a historic top 5 in country music, when those spots were all held by women. The album that included this song, Special Delivery, included 2 other top 15 country hits from 1980, You Pick Me Up, and Put Me Down, and Leavin's for Unbelievers. In 1981, West had a pair of back-to-back #1 hits, Are You Happy Baby and What Are We Doin' in Love with Kenny Rogers. What Are We Doin' in Love was West's only top 40 hit on the pop charts, reaching number 14, becoming a major crossover hit in mid-1981. Her 1981 album Wild West was one of her biggest sellers. As the 1980s progressed, West's popularity began to slip. However, she did introduce herself to younger audiences as she lent her voice to Melissa Raccoon in the film The Raccoons and the Lost Star, 1983, a precursor to the later series produced by Kevin Gillis, The Raccoons. West's 1982 album High Time spawned her last top 20 hit, It's High Time, which reached number 16. The album's other single, You're Not Easy to Forget, peaked at only number 26. West's next 2 albums under Liberty Records, Full Circle and New Horizons, were both commercial failures. West's last top 40 hit was Tulsa Ballroom, 1983. In 1984, West departed from her label and switched to the independent label Permian. In 1982, West was asked to play the lead role in the stage production of The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. That summer, she toured for 4 weeks in the stage production, performing across the country. She had her own float in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade that year. She also posed for a revealing photo in the men's magazine We. In 1983, she married her sound man, Al Winters, 22 years her junior. In 1984, she appeared in the play Bring It On Home. In 1986, she made her screen debut in the science fiction film The Aurora Encounter. In 1984, West released her final studio album, Just Dottie. This album was not very successful. All 3 of the singles that it contained failed to chart in the top 40. Her last chart hit, We Know Better Now, reached only number 53 in 1985. In 1983, West, who was a lifelong active Democrat, performed on the party's syndicated telethon, Celebrate America. Although she remained a popular touring act, West's financial problems mounted. West and Winters filed for divorce in 1990, and he sued her for $7,500. By this time, extravagant spending and a string of bad investments had left her nearly broke. In March, her Los Angeles manager sued her for $130,000, and her former manager sued her for $110,295. Furthermore, a local bank foreclosed on her mansion outside of Nashville, and sent West an eviction notice on August 1, 1990. At this time, West owed the IRS $1.3 million and filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. She later switched to Chapter 7, which allowed her to liquidate her assets. West's fan club president, Sandy Orwig, told the Nashville Network in a 1995 interview that according to West, the IRS would show up at her door any time of the day or night, taking her possessions. They even separated and took apart her award plaques, throwing half in one box and the other in another. After a car accident in her Corvette and a public auction of her mansion and possessions, West began making plans for a comeback, including an album of duets and an autobiography. The album was to feature West's friends and fellow artists Kenny Rogers, Roger Miller, Tanya Tucker, and Tammy Wynette. However, the album never materialized. She recorded her last song in July 1991 called As For Me, a duet with Norwegian country singer Arne Benoni. On August 30, 1991, West was scheduled to perform at the Grand Ole Opry. Shortly after leaving her apartment at Nashville's Wessex Towers, West's car, a Chrysler New Yorker which Rogers had given to her following the loss of her possessions at the IRS auction, stalled in front of the Old Bell Mead Theatre on Harding Road. West's 81-year-old neighbor, George Thaxton, spotted her on the side of the road and offered to drive her to the Opry for her scheduled appearance. Frantic about getting to the Opry on time, West had urged Thaxton to speed. Thaxton lost control of his vehicle while exiting at the Opryland exit on Briley Parkway at a speed of 55 miles per hour. The exit ramp was posted for 25 miles per hour. The car left the ramp, went airborne, and struck the central divider. After the accident, Thaxton was found to have had a blood alcohol content of 0.08% and pled no contest to reckless endangerment and was ordered to complete an alcohol treatment program. West did not believe she was as badly injured as her neighbor had been, and insisted he be treated first. Officers who responded to the scene incorrectly reported she did not seem harmed at the time. West herself was under the same impression. However, she had suffered severe internal injuries and proved to have suffered both a ruptured spleen and a lacerated liver. Her spleen was removed that Friday, and the following Monday, she underwent 2 more surgeries to stop her liver from bleeding. These efforts ultimately failed. Doctors said that West knew the extent of her injuries and even visited with Kenny Rogers shortly before her last operation. On September 4, 1991, during her 3rd operation, West died on the operating table, at the age of 58.